So, let's talk about Patrick. Patron saint of Ireland. Or if you look at the icon of Patrick I have in my office, because I have one, he is the enlightener of Ireland. They need it. He is not Irish. Did you know that? Patrick is not Irish, he's English. But he goes to Ireland as a slave. He's captured in a battle. He is sent to Ireland and sold into slavery. So in Ireland, he's a slave. And he escapes. And he goes back to England. And he becomes a priest. And he's consecrated a priest after he converts. And he does what any sane person would do at that moment. He goes back to Ireland. Because why wouldn't you go back to the place that had enslaved you? Makes perfect sense to me. He goes there and he preaches. He is one of many, actually, who brought Christianity to Ireland. And as I've kind of stressed a little bit, his main focus in his theological work was the Trinity. He was a very strong believer in the need for us to understand the Trinity, so he came up with the shamrock as an illustration. He also wrote about the Trinity. And if you were to pick up our green LBW and flip to hymn number 188, I'm surprised you didn't pick it for this morning, you would find a text by Patrick. I bind unto myself today the strong name of the Trinity. It's a glorious hymn. It's only 3 pages long in the hymnal. We should sing it much more often, shouldn't we? It is a glorious song. You may not know this. I don't know. But if you look at the benediction that we do at this service, it is actually a riff on a benediction that Patrick wrote. And it is sometimes called St. Patrick's Breastplate. You can look it up. Like many Celtic saints, he had a strong connection to nature. And he used creation as a witness of the majesty of God and the unity of humanity with the rest of nature. He felt that we were all connected. Nature and humanity were all connected, and so we were one with one another. And Patrick is kind of like the first environmentalist. And he's very strong into that. In many ways, the core of Patrick's ministry was healing and deliverance through faith in Jesus Christ. That's what he taught. Which means, as if you learned from our lesson today that Lance read, if you didn't know that, that today's Jesus ministry was about healing and deliverance. So the Pharisees have come to Jesus, and they're an odd group of Pharisees because they're actually friendly to Jesus, which is pretty rare in the Bible, right? Pharisees tend to be his enemies. These are his friends. And they've come to warn him that Herod wants to kill him, and that is a threat you need to take seriously because Herod has already killed John the Baptist, so he could probably kill Jesus if he wanted to. And the Pharisees are telling Jesus, get out of here. Get away, go hide yourself, run for your life. You shouldn't be here. And Jesus basically says, I have no need to worry about that. Because I have work to do. And my work is not going to be done today and tomorrow. I have every day to do my ministry, which is casting out demons and performing cures. Healing and deliverance are central parts of Jesus' ministry. They are central to his message of the breaking in of God's kingdom. In fact, for Jesus, healing and deliverance are a visible sign that the kingdom of God is already here. One of the aims of our midweek Lenten services that we're doing this year is to remind us that that healing and deliverance are still available for us today. The power of Jesus to bring healing to our lives and to bring deliverance to our souls is still active today. Jesus' work is still being done. His work of healing and deliverance continues. And this healing power that Jesus brings, this gift of deliverance that Jesus brings to us, is frankly something we're all in need of. We're all in need of some form of healing in our lives. Maybe we need Jesus' healing presence to help us persevere through a time of illness, through a time of pain, or a time of suffering. We need Jesus' presence to be made strong and to be given patience, to go out and find the treatments that we need, and even, yes, to actually be made physically well. The healing power of Jesus is at work in our lives to bring us the relief and the strength and the patience and the healing we need. Jesus comes to us in times of physical suffering, and Jesus brings us healing. But maybe our needs are spiritual. Maybe the healing that we need is spiritual. Maybe we have lost our faith. Maybe we are struggling to find meaning and purpose in our lives. Maybe we feel like God has abandoned us. Maybe we feel like God has forgotten about us. Jesus brings healing here as well. Jesus draws us close and reaches out to embrace us, reminding us that we are never far from God and that God is always closer to us than we can even imagine. Healing comes when we remember that we are loved unconditionally, that we are loved by God regardless of who we are or regardless of what we are. Regardless of what we have done, regardless of what we have not done, the healing power of Jesus is present and with us. Maybe our need is emotional. Stress and tension and anxiety overwhelm us. Our lives are in disarray. Our relationships are strained and broken. A trust has been betrayed. We don't know how we can make ends meet. We aren't sure we will, or even if we want to make it until tomorrow. And Jesus brings healing here as well, with words of peace and comfort. Jesus reminds us that all things are temporary, and the whole of our life is contained within the loving embrace of God. Jesus reminds us that you have worth and that you have value just for being you, just for being the person that you are. Jesus reminds us that there is always hope. There is always another way. There is always another chance. And there's always another opportunity. Jesus reminds us that we are not alone. Jesus reminds us that at some point everybody has hurt. Everybody has experienced these pains and these struggles. And Jesus invites us, if nothing else, to simply hold on. Good news will come. Good days will come. God will not abandon you in any time of struggle, any time of stress or anxiety. God will simply never abandon you, ever. Jesus' work of healing and deliverance is not over. He knows his future. He knows what awaits him in Jerusalem. He knows he has to go there, and he knows when he gets there he will die. But he also knows that death is no match for him. He also knows that death cannot defeat the power of God's love. Jesus' work of healing and deliverance will not be done, in his words, until the third day. And the third day is the day of resurrection. The day when all things will be made new. The day when we will all rise up into the blessed new reality of eternal life. And until that day comes, until resurrection reigns for all of us, Jesus' work of healing and deliverance will not be finished. No Herod can stop it, and no Rome can stop it. No act of terrorism can stop it. No bigotry and no hatred can stop it. Drugs cannot stop it. Abuse cannot stop it. The worse we do to ourselves, the worse we can do to one another, cannot stop it. Nothing can stop Jesus' work of healing and deliverance. We might not want it. We might all be like Jerusalem, resisting Jesus' desire to shelter us under his wings like a mother hen shelters her chicks, but Jesus will not be deterred, and Jesus will not be stopped. And what a beautiful image that is for us today. Being taken under protecting wings, drawn together, close to one another under the shelter of loving wings. You like that image? Can you get, I mean, well, you have to get in your mind. It's been up there enough times. But the chicken embracing her young, they do that for protection. Audrey, our secretary, told me this, and she said this was a true story. She wasn't making it up. The farmer had chickens and ducks and all that, and one of the chickens had laid eggs and was resting on them and warming them, and one of the ducks had laid eggs, and the mother duck died, and the eggs were just left there. And so what the farmer did was he took these 2 duck eggs and tried to get the chicken to adopt them. And the chicken did. And she took these 2 duck eggs and added them to her nest and sat on top of them and warmed them until they hatched. And when they hatched, she treated the ducklings like 2 more of her chicks. And so wherever the chicks went, the ducklings went. And the ducklings were totally happy with this. Mommy! You know. And then one day, it poured rain. Downpour of rain, and the mother hen is rushing around gathering up her chicks to get them into the shelter of the chicken house to keep them dry from the rain. And she's working on, she's getting all chicks, and the 2 ducks won't cooperate because they know water's good. They're meant to be in water, and so they're running away from her because they like this. And the hen is running frantically after these ducks, trying to herd them into what she knows is the safe place for them, because that was the strength of her urge to protect and huddle and draw them into what she knew was the safe place. Jesus calls Herod a fox. That is not a compliment. A fox is an insult, because a fox is basically a scrawny little scavenger. He's calling Herod a powerless little, scrawny little scavenger who has no authority, who has no influence. He is nothing. Unless, of course, you're a chicken. See, one of the reasons the mother hen gathers her chicks under her wings is to protect them from a fox. When a fox breaks in to a hen house, to the barnyard, the mother hen will guard her chicks with her own body and huddle them into her wings and behind her. The hen puts herself between the fox and the chicks. The mother hen will bear the attack of the fox so that the chicks will survive. Jesus positions himself between us and the evils of this world. Jesus says, I will stand there for you. I will stand tall on your behalf. I will shelter you, and I will protect you, and under my wings you will be safe. It's not that there won't be threats. There are all kinds of little Herods out there waiting to assail us and attack us. We will face adversity and strife in our lives, but the message that we hear from Jesus is that never, ever, ever will we face it alone. Always we will have Jesus there with us, sheltering us with his wings, bringing us his healing, bringing us his deliverance, saying to us, don't worry about that fox. I'm telling you, you will be fine. In the end, we will all be fine. Because Jesus knows that not only is his life fully in the hands of God, our lives are also fully in the hands of God. And we all know that God's will must prevail. God's will is that we will all know healing and deliverance, if not now, then later. But in the end, when God's will is all in all, and resurrection is ours, and all of the foxes and the Herods are gone, we will be fine. In God's time, we will be fine. Amen.